What's up everybody? In this video I want to take a look at the GoPro Hero4 Session, which is this little guy. And the Hero4 Session is an action cam that is capable of shooting HD video, 1080p at 30 frames a second, as well as 8 megapixel still images. And there is a mode in here that allows you to do time-lapse as well. When the GoPro came out last year, it came out with a price tag of $400, which was pretty ridiculous and very competitive with other products in the GoPro lineup. However, probably due to poor sales and also some of the valuation problems that GoPro has had recently on the stock market, they have lowered the price to $199. Now, at $199, it does make a lot of sense. And I've been shooting on this for a couple weeks now, and I really love this, mainly because of the size and the simplicity. And I want to kind of go through and show you some of the stuff and show you some footage as well. So it's a cube, and it's black, so it's very inconspicuous. On the front, you have the lens. On the top, you've got a button, and when you press that button, it powers the camera on and starts recording. To stop recording, you press it again, and it will follow by powering the camera off as well. There's a small LCD screen which gives you some basic information of how much time, battery life you have left, time on the card, etc. On the side you have a little door here, and when you open that up, that gives you access to the micro SD card as well as the USB port that you're going to use for charging. And on the back side you have this small button down here which you're going to use to scroll through the settings, and they will come up. They're kind of quick settings, and they're going to come up on the screen, and you're going to use that in combination with the power button to change settings on the camera. Now, they're just quick settings, and to access all of the settings and options that you have available to you, you're going to want to pair this up with your smartphone and use the GoPro app to do that. I'm filming with the Hero4 Session right now, and what you're seeing is exactly the footage as it came off the camera. So I haven't done anything to this in terms of color grading. In fact, I'm just using the built-in mic on the camera. And I want to talk about what you're looking at, because I don't think people understand sometimes how to get the best quality image out of this camera. So right now I have a feature called Protune turned on. Protune is a picture profile essentially that GoPro gives you as an option, and you can turn that on, and what it does is it gives you a lower contrast image. This gives you more information to deal with when you want to do color grading in post-production. So in other words, it's going to try to keep shadows from going too dark or highlights from going too high. Now, this is not really a log profile. It's similar, and I wish GoPro would come up with a log profile to put on here, because it would make it even better. But anyway, this is what the image looks like. It's fairly low contrast, and if I run this footage through DaVinci Resolve, it's going to look like this, which is much better. In fact, I put kind of a film profile on here, and it looks a little better. It's a little warmer, a little richer, and has a more film-like quality to it, and this footage is starting to look pretty decent. Now, the other thing I want to mention about this camera is there is no image stabilization, so it's a wide enough angle, so if you're hand-holding, you're probably okay, as long as you're not walking around, but you're probably even seeing some shake in this footage. Additionally to that, the image, or the angle on the lens, is so wide that you see a lot of barrel distortion, particularly in the brick behind me. I can't talk today. There are some plugins that you can find that can help with that. In fact, there's a free one, and I will put a link to that in the show notes. And if you just apply that, then all of a sudden your footage, it tightens up in on the shot a little bit, but it does straighten things out. Additionally, GoPro's app that you can download for your computer and do some editing in will do this too. Both of these solutions are free. In fact, I didn't mention earlier that DaVinci Resolve 12, which I did the color grading on this on, is a free application as well for both Mac and PC, so check that out. Anyway, so there are ways to do correction on here. The only complaint that I have about that is that what it's going to do is you're shooting right at 1080, and if this had a 4K chip in it, it would be so awesome, because then I could do some barrel distortion corrections, output to 1080, and not really be cutting into my image that much. So essentially that's what the footage looks like, and I've had a lot of fun shooting on this. The results are really pretty good. The low light performance on here, I don't think you can expect a $200 camera to be absolutely fantastic, but it does pretty well considering. In fact, I've had other action cams that literally just fall apart in anything close to low light, and this one does pretty well. As an additional bonus, the cats absolutely love it, and I'm kind of joking here because some of you who watch the show regularly have seen appearances from my cats from time to time, and they actually are fascinated with the Hero4 Session. So for this demo, I'm just going to put this on top of my GorillaPod, and I'll talk about this in a second because this is a small complaint, and that has to deal with included accessories. But what's cool is you can pretty much put this anywhere because of its size. And so what you're going to do is put this on top, go ahead and hit the record button, and what you're going to do is you're going to hear it beep and turn on, and then that red indicator says we are recording. And as you can see in this footage, this lens is extremely wide. In fact, I can stand up and be fully in frame. Now, what's interesting is there's no monitor on this camera at all. And I think it's probably okay when you consider what you're going to use this camera for and the fact that the lens is so wide that you can just point it and shoot. My only complaint is that this lens is really wide, and depending on what angle you've got, it does bring a lot of distortion into the frame. You can see that as this is recording, you have red lights on the front and back that flash on and off, and it also makes a beeping sound when I stop the recording as well. Now, in most circumstances, you probably don't want a camera that's going to flash and beep that much, and you can turn those off in the settings, which I'm going to show you how to do right now. I want to talk about Wi-Fi connectivity in the Hero4 Session because I think this actually is a very cool feature of this camera. So once you've downloaded the app from GoPro, it will walk you through the necessary steps. What you're going to do is set up a hotspot, Wi-Fi hotspot from the Hero4 Session, and then you will connect your phone to that hotspot, and then you launch the app. Once you have done that, and this is very cool, the first thing that is very useful is you can actually use your phone as a monitor for the Hero4 Session. So there is a little bit of lag time on here, but it's not terrible. And I can actually at least use this for framing up shots and getting everything together. And it actually is a very cool feature. Now, also important in here is you can start and stop recordings, and you can transfer and download recordings from the session to your smartphone, which is very cool. The other thing that you're going to want to use this for is for getting into the actual settings, because as I mentioned earlier, the settings that are provided in the menus here are very limited. So they're just kind of like quick settings, and I have access to a lot more stuff when I do this from the app. So for instance, you can change the field of view. There are some limitations. I'm using the the picture profile that they use called Protune, which is, GoPro is going to give you the best image quality if you use that, but it does limit it. You can't use the medium angle view, but it's really not set up to do that. It's just a crop anyway. And so anyway, that's how I have mine set up. You can also go in and manually set ISO limit, sharpness, all that stuff. They also have a mode in here called spot meter, which is actually interesting because it's not the traditional photography way of spot metering. What it's going to do is, because the lens is so wide, it's going to compensate the exposure for the whole scene. So it's going to sometimes make the shadows too dark or the highlights too bright. But if you flip it into spot meter mode, what it's going to do is going to have a spot in the middle of the frame where it's going to just meter that. So if you have a person in the frame or something like that and you want the exposure to be right on them, you'll be able to do it from there. The other important thing on here too is under setup. And as I mentioned before, and you can see there's a little Wi-Fi light that's blinking, the blue light in the back. The lights and the beeps, once you know how to use this camera, you've been trained. You push a button to turn it on, and then you push the same button to turn it off. I like to turn all that off, so I can go in for the LED blink and I can turn that off. I can go in here for the beeps, I can turn those off, and that's kind of a better way to set up your camera for actual recording. The Hero4 Session does an extremely good job at what it's designed to do, and that's why it's quickly becoming one of my favorite cameras. It's small, it's inconspicuous, it's dead simple to use, and there's a lot of applications where this type of special purpose action cam does a really wonderful job. Is it the perfect camera? Absolutely not. And there's a couple things that I would change about this, and I wish GoPro would consider offering in the next version of this. First of all, this wide angle lens. It is really wide. In fact, it's pretty much a fisheye. And I understand why they designed it that way, because pretty much it's so simple and there's no monitor on here. So you basically want to be able to hold it up and shoot and get everything in frame. And I think for the average consumer, it's going to do that well. But the wide angle creates this image distortion that just becomes comical at a certain point. Now, I know that there are solutions for fixing that in post-production. I've talked about that. But even then, I don't want to start degrading image quality in post-production because I'm trying to crop or zoom in. I think another way around this would actually be offering 4K as an option in here. Now, 4K does not necessarily mean you're going to get better image quality. It just means you're going to get a higher resolution of whatever the native image quality is. However, there's a couple things that make a 4K option really cool. And first of all is being able to, if you do have to do image distortion corrections, you filmed at 4K and you're going to output to 1080p, then it makes sense because you're not going to degrade as much of the image quality doing that. So even having a 4K option would probably get around some of the lens issues if you're going to have to mess with it in post. Now, having said that, post-production is not a big deal because with the inherent image quality in here anyway, and on most of my projects, I do some kind of post-production, even if it's just levels adjustments. If you're already in there, I don't mind it. But another thing that I wish that GoPro would consider is having a picture profile on here that would give you a wider dynamic range and a lower contrast so that I can go in and boost that in post. As it is, sometimes when you lose shadow detail or you blow highlight detail, I can't get any of that back. But a lower contrast picture profile would be really nice to have in here. And I know they've tried to do that with Protune, but it just doesn't do it enough. And I know that it's possible in a camera like this, but that is something that I would really like to see. The other complaint, and this is a serious complaint that I've got. Now, when you, for those of you who have ever purchased a GoPro, you know exactly what I'm talking about. When you buy a GoPro, you get into the land of the upsell, and that's how that company makes a lot of their money. And so there's all kinds of accessories and lifestyle-oriented things that, oh, I need the helmet cam because, yeah, next time I'm belaying off the side of a cliff, I don't do a lot of that. But I'm not really into the accessories, and I love the fact that you can just buy the camera and get a lot of great use out of it without it. However, they include all types of these little cages and things when you open up the box, and none of them will mount to a standard tripod socket. Give me a break. You can get them for like $6 on Amazon. I mean, it's not hard to find an accessory that will allow you to attach this to a tripod, but I wish they would just include that natively in the box because, I mean, how much would that, I have nothing to attach any of this stuff to. I know they want to upsell me to a bunch of things that I can attach these things to, but I want to attach it to the tripods and things I already own. So that is a big downfall for me. Now, is it a make or break deal on buying this camera? Absolutely not. Just know that if you want to attach this to a tripod socket, you're unfortunately going to have to buy another attachment to do that with. But anyway, that is the GoPro Hero 4 Session, and I'm really a big fan of this. I love the size of this and the simplicity and ease of use. If you guys have enjoyed this video, please remember to like it and share it with your friends, and as always, subscribe to The Art of Photography so you'll always be up to date on all the latest and greatest videos we do here. Until the next video, I'll see you guys later.